Hey Starseeds, welcome to Starseed Energetics. My name is Pora and I'll be doing a collective reading for this Lunar New Year. So this Lunar New Year, when it's recording for me right now, so that energy is captured right into your transmission whenever you're watching this. It's such a significant, or I would even say it's the most important moment that we've ever lived in our remembering our human lives. It's almost as if there's a common thread running between all the universes and all the dimensions and all of oneness that would be experienced as this year for us in this moment. So one of my favorite kind of thought leaders or complex of collectives is Terence McKenna. Terence McKenna usually talks about the evolution of time as something that is symbiotic with so many different synchronicities, if that makes sense for you. If there was one that was the most evolved in terms of its synchronization with all the different layers and all the different portals throughout universes and multiverses, it would be experienced from humans like us as this year, which means everything's about to change in the simple terms. Nothing is going to come close to what you're about to experience this year. And I want to get into Jeff Bezos for a little bit because he's just on top of my interest list these days in terms of who's doing what. If you don't know who Jeff Bezos is, he owns Amazon, he runs Amazon and owns Amazon. And I know Elon Musk is a little bit more popular and famous in terms of like to the masses in the tech industry, but Jeff Bezos has also been working on a intergalactic kind of exploration tools for humans called Blue Origin. So what he's doing is building space platforms that humans would go and live on and occasionally visit the Earth for resources and just to touch base with our planet, but he's basically building those platforms and means to get there and sustain us there. You know, I think it's just so important for us to keep in touch with these grounded progress that's happening, even though as starseeds, you know, we travel in light bodies, and for us it's so important to not forget that those are our abilities and that's where we came from these advanced civilizations. But we came here to basically help evolve this density, and when it's making strides towards the future to meet halfway, I think it's just really crucial. So I just want to bring that up. And another reason why I want to bring that up is because it's all about time perception, your time perception shifting. Jeff Bezos has this clock in the lab where they build the human version of spaceships that takes once a year, and then once in 100 years, and then once in a million years, like something like that. This giant clock that just takes once, at the minimal is once a year. And I think one of the most insidious programmings that we've lived through, that why everything was so difficult, was because of the clock, the human clock, that whatever you like to project your own shadows on as a collective, whether that's the Cabal or the Illuminati, whatever you project your negative pieces onto. I think one of the most clever things that they ever did, more so than GMOs or, you know, polluting our elements, is the clock. It's controlling your mental structures into thinking and almost equivalating 1 moment to 1 second, when 1 moment can be a million years. A 1 moment can be a year, just as Jeff Bezos designed this clock. And he was almost saying, like, I wish people would look at this clock and, you know, just feel that sense of time where we're not so fucking narrow-minded to think in terms of like every 1 day time resets, you know, and then we're caught to thinking about petty things. And when I'm really perceiving myself from a higher perspective, when I experience my experiences from a higher dimensional consciousness, I often realize the root cause of a lot of my conflicts come from my perception of time. And that translates to very, very, very daily things that I experience conflicts with, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in, you know, like self-talk, anything. Actually, if you run across the belief systems, all the way to the conceptual aspect, it comes from this experience of time that is so narrow. And I think as, you know, more evolved units of consciousness, it's our intentions should be to embody this higher dimensional perspective of time, and a lot of the things we stress about today wouldn't be true. And you might even say, like, but it's true that most people die at a certain age and blah blah blah, but you don't understand, like, that's because our minds have been constructing that time frame, and once we start to shift it, that's literally going to manifest as option for immortality, or if you even want that, or, you know, just like literally infinite resources, because in a lot of cases our experience of resources is so intimately interweaved with our perception of time. The reason why we have limited resources is so intimately connected with our perceived lack of time. Okay, so anyway, I want to get that out of the way because it was such an important message to transmit through me from your collectives. And the reason why I'm going to do just one collective reading is because this new year is synchronizing all the different threads into oneness, and to just kind of pay respect to that, I mean it's just like the collectives, not just the Arcturians, not just the Sirians, like all of them want to pull through whatever is going to come through. I'm not sure what's going to come through when I lay the cards, but I want you to understand that whoever's tuned into this, you're part of this really, really intricate grid work that's occurring on the planet for the next whatever units of time. It's a very synchronized movement that you're partaking in, and all the people who are watching this as well, and will be watching in the future, we're connected in terms of our movements, our energetic flow, input, output. Everything is so connected for whoever is watching this, and that's why it will resonate with you if it resonates with you. And that's how collective readings really work, because we're part of a bigger movement. And with that said, just one more message before I get into the reading. I know so many people have bought so many private readings for the past month, like overwhelming amount of people, and I want to thank you so much, because there's so many energy readers out there, and I'm just like a super small YouTuber, but like the amount of reading requests that I get are just like absolutely mind-blowing. And you know, I just want to apologize that there's been such a delay in a lot of you. It's because I actually work with divine timing, that when I'm doing your reading, I cannot do it until the time is right, because that's the synchronization. And for the people who wait for that person's divine timing, somehow is obviously we're all connected, that energy is also part of your energy. And I think a lot of it has to do with this time reconditioning, the fact that, you know, I have to sync it, otherwise it just doesn't feel right, and I just don't want to do that. But I haven't got a single client who's got a reading that didn't realize it was actually meant to be that timing, even if it was late. So again, I think I'm gonna have to do something about the private readings, because the volume is just way too much to handle, because I have a full-time ascension technology career, and that's something I love so much. And doing the readings and helping people figure out their higher messages is also my passion. But I'm gonna try to do something wherein I can really balance all of those out. Yeah, I'm like breaking out heavily because I'm on this extremely detoxifying diet, but I am healthy. So I just wanted to put that out there. First card we have is Ace of Pentacles. You know what that means. And you know what's really, really, really awesome is this Lunar New Year, in terms of like the Chinese zodiac, is all about wealth and prosperity. And this is the main message. I mean, like I told you, all the timelines are crossing and all the timelines are synchronizing, which means the time perception of the Chinese zodiac and the time perception of the humans, time perception of the Arcturians, time perception of the Pleiadians, everything is synchronizing right now. You're going through this year is all about receiving this, which is like prosperity to a level that would just make you feel absolutely free. It's like divine prosperity as well. It's just not in one dimension, but it's like in so many different dimensions. But what you're going to encounter and your sort of challenge in receiving this is just to release and let go of attachments, letting go of attachments. So that means this is all about the feminine paradigm right now, just to kind of surrender and release control, and release control over how, like, just release control over your finances. When you see that it's changing and shifting, don't try to control what's happening, because everything is changing. So if there's like extra expenses that you were not expecting, or if there's things that are just happening to your bank account, I need you to remember this clock that I was talking about, the once in a lifetime clock, and how minuscule it is compared to the endless resources that you actually have and that you will actually manifest. Because in the next year, you're going to be manifesting so much financial wealth that the little amounts that you might be stressing about right now is like completely irrelevant. It's part of like releasing and surrendering that energy of this petty mindedness about resources. If your perception, because it's all about perception, everything is all about perception. Whatever you perceive, you are creating. And this sounds so cliche, but it's actually like, if you really understand what it means to a level of reality, what that your perception basically is shaping your experience of reality, which basically is your reality to your unit of consciousness. And it doesn't really matter what the other relative realities are. There's only relative realities for us. We're only creatures that can experience reality as something relative, because we're, fractalized components. We're not the whole thing. We're not having an experience of the unity right now. We're transitioning into symbiosis. I mean, I don't want to get into this whole spiel, but the point is to release your need for control and just realize, look, this is actually what's happening is you're actually changing your perspective on resources, including time, money, anything that counts as resources. Your health is a resource, your beauty is a resource, your character is a resource, your knowledge, wisdom, everything about resources is changing from being limited to unlimited. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of a calibration going on. You're going to feel like a little insecure. It's like, what's happening? Like, it's going to test your perceptions to recalibrate it, because it's going from one state to another. Just like how if you boil water and the water turns into steam, there's a freaking chemical reaction going on. Not chemical, I don't know what, alchemical reaction going on with the water is going to start bubbling, and you're going to sense that bit of chaos in terms of how you're perceiving it, but realize it's not an actual reality, but it's just a perception. And I need you to understand that the monetary system is really based on the most nonsensical and non-factual basis of resources, and we believe it so much. We all believe it so much. But if you think about the national perspective, if you just zoom out your perspective to look at it from a way that every single country is $1 trillion in debt, and somehow we are splitting up those finances from the central bank to believe either that we have certain amount of money in our bank account, and we think that is so solid, but that's literally such a similar experience to us just believing that matter, which is composed of, at the end of the day, atoms, at the end of the day, photons, and just electromagnetic energy, is so solid, and we believe it so much when it's based on quantum fields, like non-physical things. So just remember that when you're navigating through your perception of time, money, things, ideas. We live in a world of metaphors. As third dimensional creatures that is ascending, you're gonna realize like everything is symbolic, everything is a story, and everything is a metaphor. There's not a single experience that we have as human beings that is, when we're operating on this collective reality level, that we're agreeing upon this reality, there's nothing that's not metaphorical. Everything is a story behind a story, behind an idea, behind an idea, behind an idea. That's just the nature of it, coming through from a polarization of energy, So every truth is also only relative. There's no absolute truth that can be explained, only experienced. But yeah, so you're going to be going through a lot of confusion because your perception is changing, of course. Wow, and there's this 10 of swords, but when they talk about getting your internal game straight before things manifest in your world, in this reality, when you start to shift into these heavy, higher dimensional belief systems and higher dimensional perceptions of actually looking at something, you will actually realize, like, holy shit, like, actually there is a point where you shift your perspective so much that it actually makes sense that if people want immediate results, and if you actually do the right things to shift your own internal perspective, you'll realize how valid that is. That internal shift is actually tangible, immediate results. Yeah. Some people will know what I'm talking about. But I see you're stressing right now because this, it's only natural. You're shifting realities in terms of, like, it's really, how we've been navigating through timelines, like this portal, like I said, is the bridger of realities. Like, you're shifting not only timelines, but you're shifting octaves. You're shifting octaves of frequency. And so yes, you're confused and you're stressed and, like, sometimes anxious, and you're facing, the innermost aspects of the darkness that you've been afraid of, because you now have the ability to perceive them from a higher perspective. And it's like you're learning your major lesson, like your main lesson, because through this uncertainty, this is like absolute confusion and uncertainty. Even if you're like so in alignment with your higher selves, you are probably experiencing a paradigm where, like, literally, like, everything is confusing, everything changes all the time. It's literally like water turning into steam. Like, you used to be water and now you're steam, and you're just like, what the fuck is happening? But what's actually occurring here is that you are becoming one with your higher self, number one, and your environment, and this sub-dimension of consciousness, like this, like, if you knew how to listen to your intuition before, it's going to be a whole another level of multi-dimensional interaction with your higher selves, multi-sensory interaction with your higher self. So if you had a certain way that you would encounter your higher self, whether that was third eye visions or clairaudience or clairsentience, claircognizance, you're going into a next level of communication with your higher self. So it's almost like comparing this back to the short and primitive evolutions of the Homo sapiens, when they used to have snail mail and they would write, and then, like, centuries later they have FaceTime, and now you can communicate with video, voice, vibes, you know, and it's the same kind of transition that you're experiencing with your godlyhood self, and your that being filtered onto that human experience, because that is the next step. Like, you're actually evolving, like you have evolved, and this year or this transition is all about this. And you will realize when you can kind of surrender into that higher dimensional, higher interactive level of communication with your higher density components, you'll stop feeling like this. Because right now you're kind of almost also dictating how they communicate to you, from the default way, like, well, but you always gave me tingles on the left side of my brain. You know, like, no, it's gonna be so next level, like this transition. It's gonna be like a holographic package, and you have to just tune in and listen. Are you listening is the thing. Like, you have to listen, you have to feel, vibe out everything. And a lot of the decisions that they used to help you make, they're not going to help you do that anymore, because you're like, that level of yourself that is making those decisions is already subconsciously programmed with the default. Like, it's time to move on to like higher conceptual things that you ask for, like higher dimensional insights, higher dimensional manifestations, higher dimensional navigation, and you'll catch up to this way of navigating. Okay. Just wanted to see what's coming up. I'll get into. Okay. So, what is that? Okay, Page of Swords. Alright. So, in the near future, so sorry about this camera angle. I'm not the best at setting that kind of stuff up. Anyway, can't wait till drones take charge of my cameras. In the near future, you're gonna have the Seven of Wands, which means you're gonna be facing a lot of decisions to make, actions to take. There's a lot of competing elements of your life that is asking for your attention. What I'm getting from this card for you is to remember the main goal, your main mission. So if there's so many different things that are competing for your time, energy, and attention, I need you to just have this one overarching, like, moonshot, as Google calls it. Google calls things moonshots when their goals are like exponential and like irrelevant to our like, goals are so big that it makes every other desires irrelevant. I need you to find that one goal that is so outside of your framework of comprehension, that is so big that nothing will ever distract you when you remember that goal. Like, no secondary desires will be even comparable to that goal, and it was gonna come to you as some sort of a frequency. It's not gonna be like, yeah, sure, you can explain it in many different ways, just as how people, you know, five different blind people are touching an elephant, and one feels the trunk, one feels the bum, one feels the feet, and they all have a different experience of this one elephant, right? And for you too, you can surely explain aspects of that goal, but surely as a whole, it's a frequency of that timeline, that one goal. Like, for example, for Jeff Bezos is to completely build the space platform and create ways to get there with renewable rockets instead of ones that perish after launching. I need you to find that goal, and whenever you feel distracted with, oh, what decision do I make? What do I do with my current partner? What decision do I make with this friend? What decision do I make with the budget? Like, one goal that will make everything else irrelevant. Okay. And then just remember that goal throughout this year, and that will take care of all your other desires, all your other conflicts. Okay. Next, can you see like why it's important for me to be in the right zone for doing private readings? I have the strength card as your self-position, which is the internal strength, the unwavering level of awareness that you are really building. Like simultaneously while you're working on these goals, let's say that they are higher dimensional goals, like fifth dimensional, like manifestations of your soul's longing, but the strength itself is running on a parallel priority for you to, like, no matter what, build that access to this oneness, which is the not belonging of any other dimensions, but is just the pure potential, pure 0 point energy field, is also just as crucial, if not the most crucial, to maintain and strengthen your connection to, because as human beings you have an actual direct connection to this 0 point, and that's why a lot of different manifestations of the creation field are jealous of the capacity in which we have this co-creative consciousness, partially because, or all because, we have a direct access to the 0 point field. But remember what the 0 point field is. It's just pure awareness, and it's a complete different set of frequencies. Yeah. And this in the spiritual community would be termed non-duality, and I recommend it heavily, especially if you're super into this higher dimensional, like 8th dimensional Pleiadians, 9th dimensional Arcturians. Yeah, that's all great, but there's awareness before all of that. So do that in conjunction. No, you don't have to. I invite you to. I suggest. I'm not being controlling. Okay, in the environment you have the Knight of Swords, which is fast moving energy, fast. Somebody's charging towards you, some opportunity, it seems like an opportunity, or it's like what you're looking for is looking for you. And for you to actually align with this, it's best done at the 0 point, which is similar for us as, you know, over amplifying the surrender and receptive energy and the trusting energy to meet this. It's almost like it's your turn to align with this. You've done your part to meet it halfway, and now you just surrender to that synchronization that's occurring right now as this portal is occurring. In your environment, you have the King of Cups. Somebody in your environment has this energy of King of Cups. Who is that? Could be an emotional connection to a group of people, another person, or just a very supportive energy. It could be your counsel, guardian angels. I never say that word, but somehow it came up, so must be resonant for some of you. Maybe you guys are getting new guardian angels, or they're just amplifying their presence in your life. If you felt like you had a little bit of a fallout from your counsel or your higher selves or your guardian angels, blah blah blah, it's coming back to you with a complete different, you know, it's like they've evolved, upgraded themselves, and that makes sense. That makes sense. In which why they are communicating with you on a different level as well. And this, I'm reminded to tell you how crucial it is at this time for them as well, as beings who have chosen to take form in reality as assigned to help your ascension, like to serve you. It's crucial time for them, as their timelines or how they're experiencing reality are so significantly interweaved with your evolution as well. For some reason, I got a clarified card that I wasn't even meaning to. Wow. So this is really important. Okay, I don't even know why I just flipped those cards. Like, that was unintentional. They just, like, it just happened. Like, I don't even know why I put those out, because I have one more position to read. So I'm gonna read the final position, and then I'll go into whatever I just pulled, which is like absolutely mind-blowing. So you have the Page of Swords, a lot of air energy here, but it's like telepathic etheric energy for me, because that's what I'm tuning into. Message coming through, and this with the Knight of Swords that was coming through earlier, definitely there is like some telepathic things that have been going on. So if you ever believe like, oh, why don't I get okay, like, there's been telepathic exchanges going on in the grid, and this is how it's going to find you. Melchizedek, who was one of the pioneers in teaching the sacred geometry, not inventing, but teaching, a lot of his soul's mission unfolded in a way that was orchestrated directly by telepathy. Same with Alice Bailey and Dual Kul. So a lot of the times when you feel like you're not meeting enough people in the physical reality to support your evolution or unfolding, it's because your belief systems have been stuck to think that's the only form it can come. But like I said, Melchizedek, literally his angels would tell him to go visit this specific address and look for this specific person, and he would go do that in reality, and that would be the person to actually teach him a skill or help him in a certain way. And like, if you look up Melchizedek, he's like a real operating, highly functional, highly spiritual human, and that's how he progressed through his path, because he didn't have a limited belief system to think everything was meant to take place in human connection solely on the grounded level. You have to understand, like, a lot of us are evolved enough to communicate in telepathy. You don't have to actually, like, you know, send an email or whatever. I mean, you can, but like, what I'm trying to say here is a lot of things are divinely orchestrated and magical, and things like that can happen to you. Be open to it. Be open to people finding you by like their intuition, their telepathy, their guides are telling them, because our guides are communicating all the time. I don't like the word guides. I don't know, I feel like it's weird. But there's no other way to like explain it unless I use the cliche terms like that. Anyway, I see a lot of air, like I said, and a lot of things happening. Like, so these are the last two messages. Pay attention to your Venus in your astrological clock and also Saturn. A lot of you, Saturn is such a significant aspect that is being asked to look at, but definitely you're cutting away whatever didn't serve you, whatever root cause was blocking you in the past to experience this new paradigm that goes literally from, it goes from Five of Pentacles, which is abandonment, lack. It's just like poverty, lack, self-imposed loneliness, like self-worth problems, and that churning with the Wheel of Fortune. Like, literally, this is the universal clock. Almost, I would even say faded events to celebrating the Ten of Pentacles. Like, going from literally not even just, you know, it's gonna look almost like this year for you is gonna look like overnight success in terms of how much things are going from 0 to like 1 million. But the thing is, you've been working all this time aligning yourself, but on the surface it's gonna look like going from this to that, which is like two ends of a polaric spectrum. So enjoy this energy. My battery is about to die, which means like that's the end of the reading, which is fine because that was the end of your reading. I love you guys so much. Sending you infinite love and blessings and all the riches that are about to happen for you. You got the Ace of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles. Like, what else do you want? Okay, love you, bye.